Hello and welcome to Enlightened Empaths, your community for the spiritually awakened, where we discuss, explore, and connect with fellow empaths, healers, intuitives, and seekers.
Welcome back to another Share Your Light episode. I absolutely love doing these Share Your Light episodes because it gives us the opportunity to share members of our listening audience who are doing amazing things. And today we're really, really lucky and blessed to welcome Bradley Hughes. Bradley is a life coach, educator, and intuitive guide who helps people reconnect with themselves when the life they built no longer feels aligned. As the founder of Warrior Within Coaching and co-founder of Savvy Souls, Bradley blends coaching, intuition, education, and lived experience to help others move toward a more coherent and authentic life. With a background spanning corporate leadership, sales training, education, and personal development, Bradley brings both practical insight and deep empathy to his work. He holds a master's degree in education, is certified through the Jay Shetty Certification School, and has spent years supporting others through growth, transition, and self-discovery. Bradley's approach is rooted in the belief that healing and transformation are not about becoming someone new, but about returning to who we truly are beneath conditioning, performance, and survival patterns. Through both coaching and community conversation, he creates spaces where people feel seen, understood, and safe enough to reconnect with their own inner wisdom. Welcome, Bradley. It's a pleasure, and we're going to jump right in with some questions. So, just out of curiosity, because I think a lot of people are curious about being a coach, and I know you have this incredible background. So how does that help you when you're coaching someone or working with someone one-on-one?
This is a great question, and it's something I've thought about quite a bit. And it's hard to articulate and really put it into words because my background is so varied. I'm like, well, how do I tie being in retail to what I do in coaching? But what I found is that in all of my jobs and my careers, I tended to work with the public and with all the good and the crazy and the ugly and all that comes with it. And in working with the public in different roles and different capacities, I found that my different careers taught me different skills that I was naturally good at, but didn't necessarily know it in the moment. So things like leadership, how to motivate others, how to hold others accountable, and problem solving and conflict management. And in my background, I've done my own fair share of personal development work, decades of personal development work. And so I've walked the walk. So I've been there and been through the trenches and come out on the other end, standing with all my parts still together. And what I found is that when I'm working with clients, I'm able to set aside judgment and see them for the people who they are as opposed to the behaviors and their thoughts. And that's really reassuring for someone on the other end. When I can say to someone, look at you, of course you feel this way. You've been through so much. And it's only natural that these feelings come up. People feel seen and understood, sometimes for the first time ever. And that's really healing. And I remember being on the other side of that, being seen and understood. It's a real pathway to growth. And I think that that's where the magic comes in, is seeing people for who they are.
And you just put it beautifully in the sense that everybody wants to feel valued and seen.
Yeah.
And because of your background, you're able to talk to anyone about anything. And I've seen you in action with groups of people where you've been able to acclimate what you're saying or how you're presenting it or how you're sharing it to meet that person where they are. And that's a beautiful skill set. I've often said that, the best mediums, intuitives, coaches, fill in the blank, are people who have been through a lot. They've been through a lot personally because it gives them a sense of empathy and compassion and understanding, and exactly what you just said, no judgment.
Yes.
And that is a huge gift. You've been a teacher, you've been in the military, you've been in retail, you've been a parent, you've been a single parent. You have such a wide range. Often when we're talking about business stuff, we'll say, oh, well, who's your demographic? Who do you really want to help? And that gives you such a broad range of people that you can interact with. It's
It does.
incredible.
That can be a real struggle because
Mm-hmm.
I can relate to so many people, but at the same time, I know that I'm good at some of that deeper work. So I have to be careful not to attract the people who want that coach with it's the one and done, because that's not my style and not where my strength is.
Right. And that's so, so important because I think everyone is in this for a quick fix. I'm going to watch a 10-minute video or I'm going to do a one session. And there's a big difference. So I think that that's a really good question. I'll jump back to your training in a minute. But how does coaching differ from someone getting an intuitive reading or a counseling session?
That's a really in-depth question, I think. It's wonderful. Thank you.
It is.
So if we break it into the three lenses, you've got therapy, coaching, and then intuitive work. At the end of the day, they're all doing relatively the same thing. We're communicating with people, helping them shape or reframe their situation, helping them develop goals, and then ultimately how to reach those goals. And often working past those limiting beliefs or the things that are holding them back. I think where the real difference comes in is the lens and the approach that each of those three modalities take. So, for instance, in my experience, therapy is really good at going to the past. So, looking at things from the past and bringing that into the present and integrating those parts all together to create the healthy whole self. And I think that's great. We need that opportunity to process the traumas and the difficult situations and untangle the thoughts. And therapy is really good at that. Coaching, on the other hand, is all about the present and the future. So we're working towards something and working with what we have as opposed to untangling the past. So I like to tell my clients, I acknowledge the past. It's important to honor what has happened to us, as awful or as good as it may have been. But to understand, yes, I had a difficult childhood, and that leads me to think these things, is different than untangling it and that's why it's related to this thing in this relationship. And that's where therapy lies. Whereas as a coach, yes, this difficult thing happened. Here's how it's showing up for us today. Here's what we can do about it immediately and what adjustments we can make. And here's how we can move forward. And then intuitive work is, to me, a whole different type of approach. And it tends to show up for me when I'm working with someone in ways that this is a message that that person needs to hear, but they might not be ready for, or they might be running from it. And often it's words that just come out of my mouth. I often don't consciously know these things or think these things. They're just words that come out. And so I know that because they come out of left field. We could be talking about bananas, and then the next thing I know, we're talking about sailboats.
Right.
So that's a pretty big clue. The message came from left field. And often I don't remember the conversation afterwards, unless it was one of those really profound reactive moments. Those stick. But I think it's the message that the sitter or the client needs to hear. And it's not from me or from my training or from a technique. It's no, they're telling you A, but what they really need to see is zebras.
Yeah. That's an excellent way to describe it. And I think that there is a difference. There is a huge difference, especially between the therapy, the counseling, and the coaching. But everything that you just said, what I love, Bradley, is it's about empowerment. It's about, yes, I'm going to help you look in the mirror. We're going to figure out what it is that's blocking you or holding you back. And do you task analyze? Do you break it down into specific steps? So, and I'm just really curious about this because it seems like this could go in absolutely any direction at all. It could be personal development, it could be career change, it could be relationship, which does often mirror a more traditional therapeutic approach. Even though we said your wide range, is there a specific demographic that you prefer to work with?
Yeah. So I find that I work best with people who have a little bit of life experience or a lot of life experience. To draw from, because it's that experience where they can have enough knowledge and have had some life experience that can really help drive their behaviors and their decisions and motivate them. So, and working with like a young college student, for instance, they just don't have the life experience to really understand the nuance of everything they're trying to shape. And there are some coaches out there who are fantastic with that demographic, but I'm too open-ended for them, and the possibilities are too wide that we just can't narrow down the focus to make it specific enough to be meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
But working with someone who has some life experience, I find that they are also the ones who are the most motivated to change, because they realize I just can't keep hitting my head against this brick wall anymore.
And I think that is so vitally important right now, because that's coming up over and over and over for people. I'm at a crossroads. I need to pivot. I can't keep doing what I'm doing. And what you're offering folks is, okay, I'm going to help you identify what this is. We'll look at it, we'll break it down, and then we'll actually make a plan, because it does feel like there's a structure to this. It's
Yes.
not mamsy-pamsy.
No, it's not. And that's one of the complaints about therapy, is that it can just go on for years and years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's, definite value in that, but
Right.
that's not my approach. Yes, this is long-term coaching. It's not going to be something that we can accomplish in 30 days. Typically, we're looking at 6 months to 9 months, depending on life. But there is a plan in place, and there is a structure, so that you can come out on the other end with the knowledge and the skills that you need, regardless of what you face in the future.
But that's also giving people the time to really internalize and reacclimate to the changes that you're bringing into their lives, not just, I read an article, or I did a two-day workshop, and now I'm a brand new person. It feels like you're reworking behavioral patterns, mindset, outlook. What it reminds me of is when I left my professional job, and it took a while to release the identity of who I'd been. And I feel
Yes.
like that's kind of what you're saying is, we're going to help you step out from who you've been into who you're becoming in a way that's comfortable for you. And I can support you through those steps.
Yes.
Oh, that's magic.
I went through a recovery program in 2022. And this was an intense, traumatic period of life. And I did thousands of hours of therapy and came out on the other side. And one of the pieces that was so helpful to me, it was a gift that was given to me over and over and over and over again, was perspective. Because when life is falling out from underneath you like quicksand, and you're spinning your wheels and you're doing the work, you just feel like you can never get ahead. And I kept feeling like I'm moving nowhere, and I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm changing mindset, and I've got the positive outlook and all of the things. I just felt like I was stagnant and stuck. And the true gift was being given a mirror to look into and say, this was where you started, and look at all of those thousands of baby steps that you took every single day, those little quarter-inch steps added up to miles and miles and miles. And looking at the progress, even though I couldn't see it in the moment, having it reflected back to me was so powerful and healing, and just helpful in that perspective of, wow, I really am doing the thing. And that was some of the basis of why I built my ABCs of coaching, because it not only gives me that structure to make sure that we're not going off into bunny trails, that we're staying true to that coaching goal that the client presented with in the beginning. Also giving them that opportunity to go where they need to go with a guide, not get lost, but then also be able to reflect back and look at the whole journey that they've taken to that point. Because it really is, the growth is there even when we can't see it.
It's having someone witness what you're experiencing and encouraging, supporting, and validating what you're going through. And that's priceless. That really is. So what are your ABCs of coaching?
Thank you for asking. So on a basic level, I have awareness, becoming, and coherence. And so each one is broken down into different steps. So with awareness, we start with just that, just being aware of what's going on. What are the feelings that I'm having right now? Because it's so confusing. Is it guilt? Is it shame? Is it grief? Is it sadness, anger? What am I really going through? And what are my thoughts around it? And what are my behaviors? And what are the goals that I have? Because often someone will come to me and we're doing work around aligning life with passion and values, but they don't even know what that is yet. So we have to bring all of that to the surface so that we know what we're working with and working towards. And then the next piece in awareness is auditing of our alignment. And so what's working and what's not. From there, we can really lay that foundation and figure out, okay, what adjustments do I really need to make? Because in the type of coaching I do, I don't believe in blowing up people's lives. I'm not going to tell someone you need to leave your marriage and quit your job and do all of these things. It's really about how do I make my values and my passions work sustainably, and what small adjustments do I need to make that make a big impact? And I think that's where the agency really comes in.
Okay, so right out of the gate, the importance of identifying, of really being honest with themselves and looking at the big picture and the specifics. But then I love that you just said that, Bradley, because it isn't about blowing up your life. It's about changing your intrinsic way that you're dealing with the life that you have now, so that if you do decide to make those big changes, you have a sense of self and structure and strength, basically, to be able to live a new life in a different way.
Yeah, and
I love that.
That's the third part of the A's in coaching is agency, is
Mhm.
owning what you are intended to own and not what you are not intended to own. So we can let go of those things, the guilt and the shame and the should-haves and all the things that we were taught and experienced, in building the life that we have. Not everything is meant for us to carry.
Which, as empaths, as sensitives, as genuinely kind people just trying to navigate the world, that is so, so paramount right now.
Yes.
It always is, but even more so now with the climate of the world. So, okay, so that's the A, awareness and alignment and agency. So what about the B?
So the B is becoming, and this is where, it's that metamorphosis. We're changing. And so the first part is really identity-oriented realignment. And so it's
Ooh.
purposeful little steps that we need to take to make those small adjustments. It's about, rhythms and beliefs and choices, and really putting into place the things that came up for us in the awareness and the audit and the agency pieces. And then from there, we really take and put together a blueprint. So here's your map. And I would love to be able to tell someone, here are the 10 steps you need to take. And if you do them in order, everything is going to come out well. But life doesn't work that way. And really, we're building a stronger essence of where we need to go. So we've identified values and passions and what's working and what's not. So here we're looking at, what do I really need to strengthen, and what deserves to be released, and what are those adjustments that I need to make? And we build a blueprint around that. That's where goal setting comes in, and really setting specific goals. I want to be happy in life is not helpful. I mean, yes, that's a goal that we all have, but what does that really mean? And we dive into that. From there, we work on becoming. And so now we're practicing those things that we've identified. So we're strengthening those areas, and we're letting go of things. And it takes practice. Like, life is not easy. It's muddy. We may try something and fumble and fail and try it again and again and again, but that's where coaching comes in, just like a professional athlete. What if you tried this little adjustment here and then, wow, magic, right? So we work on that becoming. And the last piece of that is balanced reflection. And this is it working? What feels off? What adjustments do I need to make? And then we make those adjustments. We keep working in that until we finally reach coherence, which is where everything starts to come together.
Okay, so before we jump into coherence, with the becoming and the blueprint, what popped into my head was, if you had the blueprint, and I'm sure this is like any process, that like losing weight, and you're doing well and you're exercising, you're drinking your water, and then you plateau for a while.
Sure.
But you could always revisit the blueprint and say, okay, what do I need to hyper focus on or refocus on? Where am I slipping up? Even if someone coached with you for 6 months, 9 months, they could still apply this throughout their life to other situations later on, I would
Yes.
think. Okay, beautiful.
Yep. And I think one of the beautiful parts about that is that, as we go through that becoming stage, other stuff comes up. And it's like, well, I can't excel in this particular area. This has been really hard for me. Or another limiting belief comes up. And it's really, coaching is about skill building and not about, I'm going to fix this one problem for you. That's, I think, so very powerful, where I can hand someone a torch and say, you lead the way. You have the knowledge and the skills to do this. You're not reliant on me to tell you what to do. So let's take this new obstacle and apply the tools to it so that we can then come out on the other side of that.
See, so many people have either forgotten or they don't recognize what they're bringing to the table. And it feels like you're able to, as you said, light that torch and say, what about this aspect? Or how could you apply this? Like you're going to help someone actually look in the mirror and remember who they are and what they're capable of.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So then the C, coherence.
So coherence. So this is the last part of the journey. And it's the one where everything starts to just come together. So consistent, sustainable movement. We've explored the areas that need to be adjusted, and we've explored what's working and what's not. Now we're consistently practicing the steps that we need to take to get to where we want to be. So whether that be, have a greater self-esteem or find ways to have more authentic and fulfilling relationships, to having my own agency and power and not giving my power away to everyone all around me. Whatever it is that we're working on, is those consistent steps of practicing it. And I like that word practice, because it's not, oh, I've done this work and now I'm an expert and I'm never have to revisit it again. It's, I've done this work and I hit a new obstacle, but now I know how to handle that. It's consistently showing up. The next piece is, courageous realignment. This is where I like to think that life gives us lessons. And often I'll talk to a client who has a setback. It's really interesting being on this side of the screen, because, they're thinking, I've done all this work, nothing is working, and here I am, I'm facing this new thing, and I'm stuck, and I can't get. And really, what I find in most cases is that they feel stuck. Absolutely, that's their experience. But when you take a step back and you're able to see it from the director's lens instead of from the actor's lens, you can see the full landscape as opposed to just that scene. What I usually find is, oh, no, this is your final exam, my friend. You've already studied, lesson A, lesson B, and lesson C, and you got those. And now we're putting them all together. And that's why it feels so overwhelming, because it's not just one thing anymore. Now life is putting it all together. And it takes courage to continue to work through all of that stage of the coherence. And the last piece is really where coherence is not necessarily that finish line, but it's that ongoing experience. So now the struggles don't seem as big, and they've got the toolbox and the skills, and they've practiced it. And more importantly, they've got that sense of identity, authenticity, strength, and courage, that those little things that came up that felt so huge before are now just this little tiny stuffed animal sitting next to you.
What again pops in is that you're literally helping people build the muscle memory of how to go after what they want and see themselves for who they are, without allowing the noise of the world to to hold them back. Oh, you can't because, or social media says this, or rather than turning it into a comparative study, it becomes you helping someone look at themselves, their core beliefs, how they navigate the world, and to utilize that in a way that really aligns with who they are and what they want to do.
I love how you said that. Yes, thank you.
What I love is that you're true. What you see is what you get. You don't have, if I talk to you today or tomorrow, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this with you, Bradley, but you also have been trained in this. So talk a little bit about why you're qualified and why someone would benefit from, and not in an egoic way, but more, you're not a one-hit wonder. This isn't, oh, I read a self-help book and now I know I can do this. You've put a lot of practice and training and education into this.
I did. When I decided to move into life coaching, I took a look at my life experience, my education, and my desire to truly help people in transformative ways. And life coaching fell in my lap. It was coincidental. It was a sign that was given to me over and over and over again until I listened, and here I am. The culmination of my experience includes, what I jokingly say is my PhD in grit. Life was not easy. I've had my fair share of struggles, and I always, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I think that was a quality that not everyone around me had. A lot of people would throw up their hands. And I recall just struggling with college. So, here I was the smart one in the family. I was the one who was going to go and make something better and be the first to go to college. And I wound up at college, and I looked around me, and I just had no idea. I would look at my peers in the classroom who clearly understood what was going on, and the only words that would come to mind is, I don't get it. And how can they keep track of all the assignments and this, and there's this test and where to go? And it was so overwhelming. And in my sophomore year, I failed out of college. And that was a serious blow to my self-esteem. Something I was top 10 in my graduation class in high school, and now I'm the failure. And I recovered from that. I went to work full time, got myself set financially, and then I got re-enrolled into school, and I did the part-time school while working full-time gig. Then I got married, we moved, we had kids, and I was still doing that. So going to school at night while also working full-time and managing a family at home. And 19 years later, I graduated with my bachelor's in communications. Oh. That's the type of grit that I just naturally have. I'm going to do this, and this is what it's going to be. And yes, it was miserable being up at 2:00 in the morning writing a final paper, when I hadn't had much sleep because I got, an infant at home. Aside from, life experience and learning how to navigate those challenges, I do have some formal education. I have my bachelor's in communications, and this was from Regis University, which is a Jesuit university. I remember when I was first considering them, I thought, oh, this is a Catholic school. Yeah, I've done the Catholic thing, not doing that. No way, big barriers. And a good friend of mine convinced me to look a little bit further. And I did. And their values were in the right place. And even to this day, it makes me want to smile when I think about how they integrated their values into their education. It was amazing. And so I, earned my undergraduate degree 19 years later. And what I found was in 2015, I lost my job. So I lost my full-time job, and here I was figuring out, well, what's next? What do I do next? And I decided to take advantage of that opportunity. And that was when I was able to finish my degree. I went all in. I took 32 credits that summer and finished. Wow. I finished my undergrad and went right into a master's in education. And of course, I can't do it the easy way. I had a newborn at home, and I took the accelerated course to finish earlier. So I took 32 credits that summer and went into full-time teaching in August of 2016. Did the education thing for 8 years. It was fantastic. I learned so much. I met so many great people and had great opportunities. When I decided to move into life coaching, went into the Jay Shetty Certification School, which is a 6-month program specifically for life coaches. And so I have that certification, which is really that's my main qualification. But I think it's the culmination of experience, formal education, and the certification that all come together.
Yeah, and yes, the grit. Yes, and I think we all need grit. My version of that is, are you hungry enough to make this happen? Are you really willing to go after it? But it also is inspiring for people that might feel like, well, I missed my turn, or it's too late. Or I talk to a lot of folks that they're like, oh, I should have done it when I still could, or I'm too old, or too this, or too that. And that's never the case. As long as we're still capable, we still have an option to make changes. And yes, well, Jay Shetty is kind of the Cadillac version of coaching. But you nailed it beautifully with what you just described, is this circles back to what you said about everything you've always done has been about with people, how to see them, how to interact with them, how to engage, how to see them for who they really are. And that's what you're bringing to the table. I'm thinking of a dozen people right now that I know have had projects or dreams or desires that they've wanted for so many years in their lives. They'll almost get there and then they'll pull back. They'll almost get there and they'll say, you know what, I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not whatever, or I'm too busy. And what it sounds like is you're able to have people take a step back, take a breath, and say, let's look at this from another perspective and see what we can do with it.
Yes.
That's
Very well
beautiful.
said.
Absolutely beautiful. So you offer online. You also have an in-person project that you're working on where you live. But how can people contact you, Bradley? How can they find you and your services?
The easiest way is through my website, warriorwithin.coach. So
Beautiful.
not .com. So warriorwithin.coach. And on there, there's a link for booking a discovery call, and it links right to my calendar, and we land on a video call and can chat about what they're thinking about. I have a sales background, but I don't hard sell people because I hate that. As a potential client, I don't want to get on the video call only to be told for 30 minutes why, oh, this coaching program is the best for you, because I honestly think it's got to be what's right for them and for me. And it's that alignment that really makes it good.
I have to interject. That's why I love your approach, is that if someone gets on that call and you're like, I don't think this is someone that's going to benefit from what I have to offer, you're not going to hard sell or try to make it fit. You're going to say, I think you'd be better off with someone else. But because of your background, because of your training, there are such a wide range of folks that you could work with.
Yes.
And it's fun. When you talk about this, you light right up, and you've done enough to know what you came here to do. And this feels like it really aligns with your service work. And it fits the bill of you're very passionate about it. You have the work ethic, but you really do want to be of service. And
Yes.
that's always the key.
I have to say, I'll get off a coaching session and it doesn't feel like work to me.
No.
It just feels like a conversation, and it's yes, I'm following the framework and using the tools and the techniques and the intuition and everything all married together, but it doesn't feel like work.
No.
And I think that's what makes that successful relationship with that client is I'm not working to do this. This is an easy conversation for me, and we just walk it together.
See, that's beautiful. And so people can book a discovery call with you through warriorwithin.coach, and you're in Mountain Standard Time. So just for anyone that wants to consider that in what they're planning. And any social media or anything you'd like to promote?
Like when I shifted directions in 2022, I stepped away from social media. And I think that was one of the wisest decisions I've ever made, because in looking at, headlines and what comes through with the algorithms and other people, rage baiting is the new thing. None of that is healthy, and none of that brings me closer to what I'm here to do. So I'm still on a pause from social media. Maybe sometime in the future, I'll get that going. But right now, it's just my website.
But see, this is so vitally important, is that you don't have to be on social media in order to start a practice, be of service, help people grow and evolve. If that's someone's world, that's great. But I just recently put the timers on my phone for how long I can be on any kind of apps, because I found that it's very addictive and it's very numbing, and it also isn't healthy for me. Because not that I compare to other people what they're doing, but more it's heavy, it's dense, and just I am being stubborn. I will say, oh, you don't have time to get this done, but you have time to sit and scroll and do all those other things. So no, I think that that's lovely. But warriorwithin.coach, Bradley is the real deal. You know me well enough that I don't blow smoke and tell people what they want to hear. And you're truly genuine, and you have a strong
Thank you.
ethic and moral component of the work that you're offering for folks. So Please check out Bradley. He's in our group on tapintothecollective.com. He's also a member of our listening audience on Enlightened Empaths. And remember that, you're doing something too, and maybe a little coaching would help you say, boy, I can step into what I really came here to do, or the book I was supposed to write, or the project I was supposed to finish. I think people are ready to be seen, and you can help them do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Can I tell you about my other project that I'm working on?
Oh, please.
So I've partnered with a longtime friend of mine, and we created a group called Savvy Souls. And Savvy Souls is a modern day wisdom circle where we get together in person and we talk about the life's challenges that come up. And these are deep, rich conversations. And I think what's great about this is that it gives us access to conversations that we can't have elsewhere. We can explore an idea or a topic without worry about jeopardizing that relationship that we have, or the harmony that we have with our significant other, or whatever that is, because it's not always safe. What do you mean you're thinking about XYZ? And I think we all need that. We need to be able to really genuinely explore with curiosity and understanding and come up with some new understandings. And what better way to do that than with other people, and really just broaden our point of view and our perspective beyond what our lived experience was. And we meet consistently. So we meet weekly with 1 week off per month, just to give everyone a chance to reset. And we explore topics over 3-week periods. So it's not just today we're going to talk about grief. If we're going to talk about grief, it's for the 3 sessions over 3 weeks, so that we can get in a little bit dirtier into the topics and really explore the grit underneath them, to come out with a new understanding and come out with community and have a group of folks who can support one another regardless of what the topic might be. So Savvy Souls is so exciting, and we launch our first group on August 4th. So we're doing our pilot right now, where we have a select group that we're working with to help us kind of refine the way the sessions go and get all of the awkwardness out of it, so that things flow a little bit more smoothly and language is understood and expectations are clearly articulated without feeling heavy-handed. And our first group launches August 4th.
Wow. And you said this is in person, so this is not a virtual event. There are still openings for people to join this?
Yes, we're limiting our groups to 15 to 18 people, but lots of openings for that first group still, because our efforts have been on the pilot, not necessarily in filling the seats yet.
Yeah.
So lots of room, and we're in the North Denver metro area. So if you're in the Denver area, we're on the north side. So if you're on the south side, you may not be willing to drive through rush hour traffic through the city of Denver to get to us, but anyone in this general area. And savvysouls.community is our website. So that's where people can get in touch with us and learn a little bit more.
Can people do 1 month, or is it a continuity? Is it something that you want people to stay with, or is it like, oh, we'll be together for this 6 months, and then if you want to do it with another group? Or
so we put a lot of thought into the membership structure, and ideally I would love to say, oh, join us and you're going to be with us forever and you're in this community and we all love each other, but life happens, right?
It does. Yeah.
And maybe they find that it's not a right fit or whatever. So we did set it up so that it is just a recurring monthly membership. That way, we've got that consistency, and you've got the group, and once you're in the groove, you just want to stay and you don't want to leave. But if it's not a match, or if life throws a curveball, you're not committed long term.
Okay, I love that. So savvysouls.community in the North Denver area. Perfect. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add or share? Because this has been so fun. And it's been fun to watch you. You're so expressive about this, and I can feel it in my heart how much you love this work. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you. Truly, I love this type of work. And I feel that we are in a time when it is so important that we find those who are in alignment with us, and that we find ways to block out all of the noise and live authentically to our own values and our own passions. because watching TV and seeing social media and the news and everything going on around us is overwhelming and it's heavy and it's dragging us down. And the only way that we will get to a place where this world is in more harmony and more healthy and truly what life is meant to be like is to truly shine and be ourselves. And it's through community and through that work and finding each other as people and not as behaviors or thoughts that we all can come together. And it doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, but we can have civil discourse and also support one another and just come from that place of empathy and love and care as opposed to fear and divisiveness.
Beautifully, beautifully said, Bradley. Thank you.
Thank you.
So anyone that's interested, please check out Bradley and his work at warriorwithin.coach, or if you're interested in the in-person groups,
SavvySouls.community.
Thank you very much. This has been wonderful, and I know that it's going to help people really start to say, is there something that I need to look at that I would benefit from working with a life coach?
Well, thank you, Denise. This was an amazing opportunity. I really appreciate being on the show and sharing parts of my journey.
Very, very appreciated. And anybody that's listening, again, check out Bradley, or please do what you came here to do. We all need to come together on this and really look out for each other. We can make a difference. So